Hello and welcome to Take You to School with Dr. Tom Pritchard. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me, of course, star of the show, the former WWE and Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, not of the world of Smoky Mountain, but of the world of WWE. He is, of course, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire, Dr. Tom Pritchard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great today. Thank you very much. I want to try, as I mentioned this before we even came on, I just want to try and make this a little more informative or educational or at least entertaining for whoever might come across this on a slow Wednesday night. So that's how I'm doing. I'm doing good. Isbin, obviously. Hi, Isbin. Isbin stops by regularly. He has been. That's
Yes.
good.
Same with
Jason,
Jason. Jason
Jason
always
has
stops
too.
by.
Yeah.
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 So, how was your week off? How was your vacation?
Awesome. We went to Charleston, got right out on a Thursday. We were going to stay on a Friday, but man, we got out right before the hurricane hit and came back to Knoxville. Enjoyed the rest of the weekend. It was great. Charleston's a nice place. I'd never been there, but yeah, we took full advantage of it. Went to Folly Beach. Had some good seafood. Had a good time. Great.
Nice. Hopefully, the
Yeah.
weather didn't screw you up too much.
Not at all. Not at all. We just left a day early. It was all right. Matt's another
Matty
guy.
R,
Matt,
yeah. Matty
everything's
R,
up.
yeah.
Everything's good.
Nice. Did you return to JPWA?
We have returned to JPWA. We started Monday a new class, and uh, tonight was promo class, and everybody shows promise. Everybody seemed to be enthusiastic, nervous, which is expected, but that's what wrestling school is these days. And uh, once you get past those first couple week jitters, some people relax and uh, finally have a good time. And I hope that's what happens with this class. That's for sure. Phil, weird. How are you doing? Is a
Phil
question.
Terrell.
Yeah, there you go.
Lyle. Nice.
Awesome. Like it.
Of course, Barbara. Yes.
Well, I'm doing well. I know John's doing well. How could you
Yes.
not be? Yes.
Yes.
Uh,
Dr. Tom over Hurricane Ian. Nice. I like that.
yeah, good, good. Well, I'd take me too because it got a little windy coming home, but it was good. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
James says the offensive line will give the quarterback plenty of time to do his job. They will do better, and he would do great. Interesting. I don't know where that's coming from, but interesting.
Well, it's a great analogy no matter what. We can talk about it in life. We can talk about in football, wrestling, even badminton. We can put a quarterback in there somewhere, I'm sure. I don't
Yes.
know. Christ.
I was just thinking, like, you just mentioned promo class, and they show on the WWE Network, they've had some behind the scenes. We've seen some Dusty Rhodes promo class. What is promo class like exactly? Because it seems like the guy is just up there. You have the guys kind of watching him or almost being the audience. And then it's almost like you or Dusty or somebody's like, talk about weed or talk about beer. And like, is that exactly how it goes?
Not exactly, but it's similar. It's make me feel something with what you're saying. I may not hear every word you say, but I'll feel every word you make me feel, or how you make me feel. When I'd watch Jake Roberts promo, he would take me down and kind of tell you, because if you knew Jake, and I did know Jake, you knew that was him. And if you didn't know Jake, you wondered if that was him. And if you ever had the opportunity to meet Jake and be around Jake, then you realize, oh my God, this is awesome because this is who he is. He's not playing a part. We're working all the time. In other words, you have to think, shoot, but work. And sometimes I will give him a word, and I did that tonight. But they got to cut a promo, and I say, "Tell me a story." Some people don't understand what that means. Be able to communicate. If you can't communicate in wrestling, you're not going to get over. I don't care who you are. Um, Whether it's what you do in the ring, such as Jimmy Snuka, there's some performers, some great wrestlers who might not have been the best talkers. So that's when you put a Buddy Rogers or a Freddie Blassie or Lou Albano with them. But you have Snuka go out there. His actions spoke uh, for him. I mean, that he didn't have to talk about it. He had somebody else talk about it. But the idea is being able to get people uh, to want to come see you. And I don't get to watch Raw very often anymore, but I watched it a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks back now, where Edge opened the show with a 15 minutes promo calling out Dominic and Rhea Ripley, and Ray came out, and they all took 15 minutes of talking, 15 minutes of promo, 15 minutes of communication. So it's important. You know, I'm sure it was given to them, but Edge delivered it naturally and authentically. He's telling you a story. He's not remembering it and telling it off the top of his head. He's probably remembering it, but that's where the talent comes in. Being able to tell you that story without it seeming like you're reading or remembering it, and being authentic. And it's a process, but to me, that's one of the most fun parts of wrestling is being able to cut a promo, being able to talk, being able to create improv. And that's what wrestling used to be even more so, is improv and unpredictability. And I'm going to go ahead and plug this anyway. I don't care. I just watched the first Territories show on before the promo class tonight. And it's a great example of what Memphis really was, because Memphis had a TV show for 90 minutes in the morning every Saturday for I don't know how long. And you had larger than life people like Jackie Fargo, Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantell, Bill Dundee, Jimmy Hart. You had these larger than life personas and characters, and that's the way they approached this. Is that's who they were. They weren't playing, and they did real stuff on Memphis TV. Jerry Lawler actually got hit by a car driven by Eddie Gilbert. Jerry Lawler actually did break his leg with Joe LeDuc, throwing him over the top rope in the Mid-South Coliseum back when people weren't going through tables, and hit the timekeeper's table, a really heavy wooden table that was designed not to break. And Lawler hit the edge of it and broke his leg, tore his muscle or whatever it was, and he was out for months, almost a year. So, you know, those are promos. That's then they would talk about it and they would make it real and they would feel it. And that's the culture's changed, the business has changed, no doubt about it. But I don't think the passion ever changes, and I don't think the feeling should ever change. If you're a fan for a reason, because you feel strongly about something, and wrestlers should be fans. Wrestlers should also be pros, but you should be a fan enough that you can tell the same kind of story that got you to become a fan. And that's why it's basically what you said. That's promo class. Here's a word, potato, go. But at the same time, it's how to deliver it. And it is about pausing, not rushing, using that 1 minute. Don't let any seconds out there. Use everything you can to promote yourself, to get yourself over. And these days, I've seen it, guys cut promos and do vignettes on Facebook and put them out. Some get noticed for the right reasons, some get noticed for the wrong reasons. But at least now there's an avenue and there's a venue where you can cut a promo, catch somebody's attention, not only with the promo, but the look, appearance, everything. But I think there's always a place for somebody who can talk, get a match, get a program, get an angle over. And that's what we do in promo class.
Bo James, the king of Kingsport, of course, is Dr. Tom. Actually, it says Dr. John. I'm sorry. It says Dr. John. Are you still having the issue with the cauliflower problem? I wonder if that's the same cauliflower
it's
problem.
It's the same cauliflower problem I was speaking to you earlier about, John. I told John about this earlier, Bo, and I was plugging William Regal's podcast, and I'll do that right now as well because I like Mr. Regal. I've known him for many years now. He's always been an entertaining storyteller, but he tells a story, I think, on his latest podcast that as a young kid, you know, he was talking about how the business worked back then. They pushed you, they pressed you, they tested you, you know, just to play, see how you reacted, because back then it was a different business. And not just anybody could get in it. And it was a closed off society. And it was just a different time and place. But Regal said that there was a guy standing up, and he happened to be well endowed, and he's standing right there telling a story in front of everybody, and he notices that his gimmick is right next to Regal's face, his head. Then he looks up and he kind of goes, "Oh shit!" And then he realizes what's going on. They're messing with it, and after that happens, Dave Taylor walked up to him and said, "Have you met his wife?" The guy just got done talking. He goes, "Well, I didn't know which one out there was his wife." And he said, "She's the one with the cauliflower asshole." and and so he could tell that a lot better than I could because it's his story. But that would be a great promo. That would be a great story to tell on promos if you could get people to laugh, get people to remember it, get people to feel something when you say it. And and the same thing you were talking about, ending the match early in WCW. I mean, those little things, details that nobody really knows or even thinks about. And I still believe they're important. So when I say the basics and fundamentals never go out of style, that's basic fundamental storytelling. Have a something to hook you in. What's going to happen next? To have something to finish with, where they go, "Oh my God, did that really happen?" Yeah, actually. So, yeah.
And Brendan here saying the whole Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman story, rewatching it, that looks so real. And that was great storytelling.
Yeah, it really was. And even in the dressing room, I was there after the pile driver. I think a couple months after I went to Memphis. I'll never forget because walked in, the Fabs were hot. Rock and roll was underneath, but the Fabs were really, really hot. Lawler and Dundee were having their blow off feud. Andy Kaufman was still coming around, but they kayfabed. Lawler and Kaufman even kayfabed each other in the locker rooms in the Mid South Coliseum, Louisville, everywhere. They didn't talk about anything. They always gave off the impression that they didn't like each other. They didn't have to do that backstage, but now we know Andy enjoyed doing that. Lawler enjoyed playing with him, and it's a work, and you have to have fun with it. But when you're in public and when the cameras were rolling, these guys understood how they needed to react, not act, just react to each other. And to give off that vibe, you have to think, shoot, but work. And if you weren't who you said you were, at least believed you were who you said you were. I don't think Lawler was the king back then. Or it's right before he became the king. He believed he was the top guy, and he walked to the ring like a top guy. He didn't know what a top guy was, but he did. I mean, the only way what I mean is he knew what a top guy was. He wasn't sure how to put it in motion. He just believed it and let it happen. He didn't have to think. Pardon me. He didn't have to think about it, and that's when I go into. Excuse me. It has to be second nature. Andy Kaufman enjoyed messing with people. It was second nature to him. He knew how to fall into whatever program or angle Lawler would throw at it, and vice versa. That was what made Memphis so unique, because they did stuff like that, and they didn't break character, kayfabe, or anything like that. They approached it seriously, and it was a business, and they were making a lot of money. But that was a lot of unpredictability, and the guys look so much different now than they did then too.
Barbara says Regal said Piper was so cheap when he had his hip replaced that he asked the doctor to give the bone to his dog.
Mr. Regal comes from the Carney. You do know this, right? Yes, that's a good line, though. I like that. It's a very good line. Yes.
Do you believe the slap Andy Kaufman Lawler nailed on Kaufman on David Letterman was a real slap?
It was a real slap. He slapped a dog shit out of him. He really did. Andy knew it was coming. They just mentioned it, and it's been mentioned a few times. I actually asked Lawler about it because it was great. And we were writing. It was when we were both WWF at that time, and we were riding together. And I just asked him, "So, come on, I don't want to talk about it." I said, "No, please, just tell me how you guys set it up. Take me through the day, because it was interesting." And he said they just talked on the phone. And Andy said, "What would be great is if somewhere in there you just stood up and maybe just slapped me." And Lawler supposedly said, "Well, I've got to be back Monday or whatever night it was, the next night for the next town, he said, they might arrest me. We don't know what'll happen. And he said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, but what if? Wouldn't that be great? He said, yeah, okay. And they hung up. They didn't talk or see each other until the show. And then Lawler knew how many breaks they had, and he realized what an opportunity. And he took it and did it. It was great. And nobody was told about it. Nobody had to read the dirt sheets or get a scoop or anything like that. That wasn't that's why it got over so good, because it was just kept between those guys. And now you've had other people like Borat and things like that,
Yep.
who Sasha Cohen, who comes in and does same thing, try to get things over on people, and now they're more savvy, I guess. But that was Andy Kaufman's act. He loved making people feel uncomfortable. He loved doing things that people weren't expecting. I mean, he wasn't a comedian. He was I guess, a live performance artist. I don't know if that's what you call it, but yeah, they did stuff like that back then, not just in Memphis, but a lot of times in Memphis. But it was done a lot more frequent, certainly than it is now.
Intergender champion. Come on, he never lost.
Never lost. You're right. He did. He is. Still is. I think somebody might want to challenge for it and say, if you don't meet me here at this date, at this time, you're disqualified and I win.
And Brooks says they played it off so well, but as far as
oh yeah,
Lawler. And
listen,
Kaufman. Oh yeah,
listen. Paul Bosch in Houston, the guy I broke in with, worked in the office from the time I was 15 in summers all the way till the time I started wrestling. Paul Bosch called Lawler. Vern Gagne called Lawler. Booked Lawler on these shows, and Lawler told me this too. He said he had Paul Bosch and Vern Gagne call him and said, "Thank you for standing up for our business and slapping the shit out of that punk." They bought it. So he goes,
right.
I couldn't very well smarten them up because it wouldn't work. He said, "This is great." You had everybody, most of the boys in the business buying it. Most of the people bought it because it was groundbreaking. It was that that wasn't happening on TV, and they knew Andy Kaufman was crazy, and they didn't know what the deal was with Lawler. They thought maybe this guy really is getting mad at this goof because he makes everybody mad and he's getting under his skin, and so he just slapped him because he's such a goof. When in reality, I think he kept that image for everybody and never broke it. He didn't want him to think anything else. So, yeah, Letterman looked shut. Letterman didn't know. Nobody knew except Andy and Lawler, and that was the key to keeping it together. Is not everybody went out and put it on the internet, because there was no internet. Yeah, no doubt. I don't remember that part, but he probably did, and he called him too and booked him. Got him booked different places. Paul did. Paul Bosch.
So, love it.
Yeah.
So, as far as that stuff, that's great. Definitely, everybody check out Tales from the Territory on Vice, because it looks like it's good. Looks like The Rock is doing a good job with that series. But the topic at hand today, I wanted to talk about Marty, as your boy, the Iron Sheik, your trainer would say, Marty. So I want to talk about the one and only, the great Marty Genetti. Got a question from Ibsen. How upset do wrestlers get, or how upset do you get when wrestlers say on promos, that they don't want to be that Marty Genetti of the team? Like, that's always that knock that, oh, you're the Genetti of the team, which means a negative. Like, obviously, right. Michaels would be the positive. So right. Marty basically was kind of being, as Ibsen saying, like, they're basically shaming him, say he wasn't any good, which isn't true. What do you think when guys do that on the promo? Like, oh, you're the Marty Jannetty of the team.
Well, did that start with Miz and Morrison, or where did that start? I don't really know, but yeah, Genetti was incredible. He was incredible. Both he and Sean as a team were a hell of a team. And I think that just started because Sean always wanted to be a single, and he made no bones about that. So I think when Sean shot up, Marty is such a we know Marty. He's
Yeah.
such a great guy. I don't think he's into the ex I don't think he's into the stooging that you have to do what you have to do. And I'm not saying everybody that does is a stooge. I'm just saying I think he was okay just doing what he was doing. So no, they're saying it, and it probably keeps his name alive. But if you watch Marty and Sean as a team, and if you watch Marty as a single, just watch some of his matches, and but I know you're saying you understand Ibsen, but a lot of people don't, and they may or may not watch some of his matches. But I think I don't get upset, but I think some people might. I just it's keeping his name alive, if anything else. And in he and Sean again were the Midnight Rockers, and they became successful. So
Was that the first time you met Marty back when he was at Midnight Rockers back in '87? I guess that was kind of the first foray into meeting him.
maybe it was. I think it might have been because I don't know where else I would have run into him, but that was probably it in Continental.
Because there's
So
a match, Midnight Rockers, obviously, which is Genetti and Sean versus Mike Golden and yourself, 8/24/87 in Birmingham for CCW.
very well could be. We did a 6-man too with the Rockers and
Yes.
Danny Davis against Jonathan Boyd and
Golden
myself
and
Mike
yourself. Yeah.
Golden. Yep. So, and that was when they came in for 2 weeks, and something I think the bookers were switched, and then they didn't have a place to go, so they had to go back to where did they go after California or Alabama?
Well, they were trying to go to WWF, but they went back to AWA
AWA.
and then eventually get back to the WWF. Yeah, after getting fired once, and then they get back
Right.
there. Yep.
Right. So, that was during that time, and I don't think they were at their most
Mature.
what's the word I'm looking for? Motivated at
Oh.
their most motivated, at their most energetic, at their most creative. I think they were just going, yeah, I know we ain't going to be here, so let's get through this and go home. So
Mega Mouth Spike. Is it true Marty Jannetty's botched rocker dropper on Chuck Austin led to the elimination of jobbers in the WWF?
I, honest to goodness, don't know if that's true or not. It could have because I believe after that, no, there was still enhancement talent. The guys would come in and that was it. No, that didn't end it. It might have led. Now look, I just reread the question. It might have led to the elimination, but I think anybody who would come to be enhancement talent or do a flat out job, whatever it may be, should be trained and understand how to take the basic moves, and should also be told by wherever they get trained or whoever they know to make it clear if you are not sure how this goes, make sure you walk through it with them. Even if you are sure how it goes, it's a good idea to just double check because it's going to be on TV and you want to make sure you do things right. And you don't want to get hurt.
It's one of those things, that rocker dropper, that should never be like impaled him the way he did. He completely takes it the wrong way. You got to just land flat on your stomach.
I've seen another guy, AJ Styles, give his Styles class to somebody and tells him where to tuck your chin. Don't tuck your chin on this. You don't want to tuck your chin because it'll spike you. What does the kid do? He tucks his chin. So, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to put those kind of people in there with the chance of them getting hurt or you getting hurt. You don't want anybody to get hurt. But that's why that could have led to, the elimination of guys who may have been training for about a month or 2 months coming in saying, hey, I've been training, I'm a wrestler, or just working your way in there. The way they're doing it now is a little more, I think you have to send in an application or whatever it's called. It may be a match if you've ever had a match or whatever it is. So the requirements and restrictions have certainly changed, but I think they still have the option to put an enhancement match out there.
They want more experience, extras
Yeah.
than just these random dudes.
Right. That's what I believe is going on now, and it should be.
Phil says Marty was a fantastic worker. I agree.
I agree. I agree. He was. He was a fantastic worker. A lot of fun to be around, in the ring and out of the ring, actually. So
Mitch says, didn't Marty get an offer to join the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club? I believe he did. Yeah.
I don't know who made that offer, Vince.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, then why did Marty join the club? He didn't want to, I guess.
But wasn't that it when Kurt Angle was feuding with Michaels and they brought in Genetti, and obviously Genetti and Angle had a great match? Wasn't that Vince involved with the ass kick, or was that a different factor? I'm trying to
I
remember.
really, honest to goodness, I can't remember. I don't know if that happened or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. But if he got the offer, I don't know why Marty would turn it down. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
So
Yeah, he would do it.
yeah.
Jason says, like Al Snow said about Marty, if he wasn't as good as he was, Vince wouldn't have brought him back so many times. Very true.
I agree. And another reason I believe, don't know for a fact, but I'm just making assumptions here, that Vince would bring someone like Marty back is because he was good for the locker room. He was good for the boys. He was a good mix and kind of kept things kept things going, I guess. He was good to have around there. He was for the young guys to come over and talk to, get information from, because Marty has a way, I think. And last time I saw this, gosh, a couple years back, but I don't remember where it was. I think it was WrestleCade, Winston-Salem, actually. No, I do. But he's talking to maybe some of the young guys or somebody. And in that conversation, when you start telling a story and then you start explaining why you did something this way in a match or something, because a lot of guys will ask him about tag matches or whatever it is in the business. And Marty's one of those guys who is easily approachable and can easily tell you why something happened the way it did. So, yeah, I think that's another reason Vince brought him back for the younger talent. They knowing they can gravitate towards, Marty Jannetty, one half of the Rockers, who were pretty successful in WWE, no matter how you cut it. And there's, I think, more than one reason why Vince brought him back so many times, though.
He, I believe, holds the record for how many times he's been fired from WWE.
Well,
right? And I think it was 7 times, I think. Yeah.
We all deserve second, third, fourth chances. I mean, we've all been fired.
That shows you how good he is, though. Imagine getting 7 chances. That shows you how good he was. Yeah.
It shows you how good he was. It shows you how people spoke up for him. But it shows you what Vince. I know enough to know that it's Vince back then was the final decision. And if he really didn't feel it and didn't feel it was good for business or good for something, he wouldn't have done it. He would have said, sorry, I can't do it. It's just not going to work. But he did it. And because Marty was good with the younger talent, I think because Marty was also good to have around, and he when you come in, sometimes you just want to sit and talk to somebody and hear some input or have him feed you his input back. And I don't know if I've seen him in a bad mood ever. Could be wrong, but also to where he wouldn't. There was never a time when I don't think he would have helped somebody who needed the help. A younger guy or a team or something if he saw something. So there's your asset right there.
Matty R says he was at Survivor Series 1995. Marty did the powerbomb from the top rope. That always stood out to me. How good was Marty at putting together spots and matches?
Marty was pretty good at putting together spots and matches, just like Sean was. And that's a special talent because not everybody has that innate ability. And both those guys had that innate, that intuition, and knew what to do and had a feeling for it when it wasn't when it needed to be fixed. They knew how to fix it. in the middle of a match. So he was very good. Marty was very, very good at putting spots and matches together.
Marty Jannetty was a great wrestler. Surprised he didn't have a great singles career like Shawn Michaels. Do you think Marty Jannetty would have been a good singles wrestler? Just as
I
far as like on comparison.
Well, on comparison, I I I do. I also think that injuries. I think uh, whatever else was going on in his life, to where you get,
Extracurricular
yeah,
activities.
whatever it may be, where you're not. Um, Look, to 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 get where Sean got, Sean had to do what Sean had to do, and that was he was ruthless and right, wrong, or indifferent, agree, disagree, whatever it is, it worked. Um, it's not. That's why that's why he was there, and that's why he is. He didn't mind putting out the effort, spending the energy to go in and plead his case, or talk to Vince, or get to know Vince, and uh, get to know him well enough to where he understood how to get his way. And that's business. That's business no matter where you go. And Marty, I think, was of the mindset that, man, I just want to work. I just want to enjoy it. I just want to have a good time. Go out, have my match, enjoy the journey, because to do the other stuff, to really have to fight for it, to really have to do what you have to do, sometimes it doesn't appeal. I don't know if this is the case, my speculation. Sometimes it just doesn't appeal to you. Sometimes you understand what you're fighting against, and it's not worth the fight sometimes. But I don't know if that's the case with Marty. I think he certainly was a good singles wrestler. But once again, I know he hurt his ankle. I know he had a shoulder injury. I know he had some stuff along the way, and that's been for a long time. And that the injuries add up and they wear on you. So no matter how tough you are, eventually there's going to come a time where you're going to have to get it repaired, or you can't. You're going to have to scale back what you can do in the ring.
And to me, he's just as good as Michaels in the ring.
Oh my
They're
God, yes.
very equal, very comparable.
Yes, both of those guys did some great double team moves. They could flip flop and fly if they wanted. They could tell you a story with holds. They could tell you a story with the simple basics of tag team wrestling. And it was because they both looked great. They both moved great, even against less than opponents. They made a match out of it, and it was because of them. It was exciting, and people got into it. So the they both were very, very talented. It's just Sean had that drive that was not going to be denied. He knew what he wanted. He knew how to get it, and he set his sights on it.
Did you and Skip like working against the new Rockers in 1996?
Yeah. I mean, it was. Look, Skip and I, me and Skip, you and Skip, Skip and I were. We were. I was trying. Let me speak for myself. I was trying to just get through it. Quite honestly, I beat it to death, but the Body Donnas was not a great tag team, and the tag team situation wasn't red hot back then. We were working with the New Rockers. Fun matches, good matches, but didn't mean a thing on the card, and we knew it. And that was up to us to change it if we really, really going to fight it, but it was not going to change no matter what we did. So there.
Mitch wants to know what you think about Leif Cassidy and the new Rockers.
Well, Leif Cassidy, Al Snow, whatever you want to call him, he was all the same. As Leif Cassidy in the 90s, I don't know if that was Al so much as Head was. I think Al was having much more fun with being having the head, and that fit him better, I believe.
Ibsen wants to know, were you there in Germany in 1994 when Marty took the tour bus from the driver with the wrestlers in it and was speeding, which led to Pat Patterson having to fire him that day?
No. but I can see it. And just think about that for a second. I don't know. I don't remember that. I think I would have remembered that in '94. Uh, so no, I don't remember that. But just put that
That's
in your
awesome.
mind. No,
That's
no, just
awesome, though.
put that in
He's
your head.
stealing the tour.
Yes, in Germany. And what are you thinking? And you get back. What do you think Pat's going to say? Hey, good job, Marty. All right. I mean, honestly, what do you think's going to happen?
He probably
Yeah.
said, what does he do? He goes, the wolf. Ooh, he's going to pretend it was the wolf. Remember his alter ego. He'll say, it wasn't me. It wasn't Marty. It was the wolf that did it.
Oh, I had no idea about the alter ego. So
Yeah, yeah.
no, I didn't know about the wolf.
Oh, he's so funny.
well,
Oh, my God. He's
well,
hilarious. Yeah.
well, then you either get medication for it, okay, yes, or you take therapy, Marty. And no, I'll take the medication. Oh, that wolf keeps coming back. I don't know.
Marty may be the best impersonation guy I've heard. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard him do like the impersonations? His Harley Race, like if you close your eyes, like spot on. His Piper is unbelievable. His Macho Man is unbelievable. I know a lot of people do Macho, but his is so good. Damn, there's somebody else. Oh, Pat Patterson. He does a great Pat. Oh man,
You're fired. Yeah. Okay.
he told this great story about him and Michaels got in this big altercation and the cops had to come. He said it was all Piper's fault and all Perfect's fault because they're egging it on. They're egging it on. They're making it happen. And he's doing the impersonations of all the guys as he's doing it. So the cops show up and they said, oh, you guys are going to jail. Like this is, this is too much. This is nonsense. So Macho Man shows up and the cops like, holy shit, Macho Man, what the hell's going on here? He goes, they're working, brother. They're working. They're in a feud right now. And like, so he had to break it up with the cops. He said as soon as the cops let them go, Savage turns to Marty. He goes, "The fuck is going on here, brother?"
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was just faking it. Then he's like, "What the hell happened? Like, what the hell?" Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the only way to get out of it. And and you could tell that story and people say, oh, bullshit. But no, it's not bullshit.
And him
And
telling the story with doing the impressions
yeah,
of Perfect, of Piper, it's so good. He's so funny.
yeah. And and I'm sure it was fun for a while too, but getting everybody pissed off. But that's what those daggum vets would do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thomas says it seems like a flip of the coin. Who was more trouble outside of the ring, Marty Jannetty or the Dynamite Kid?
Oh no, I don't know, man. I think Dynamite might be, but I was never around Dynamite. But Dynamite, I think, was a little more of the dangerous trouble outside the ring. So that's that. And Marty was. I think Marty was more having a good time playing around.
More childlike. Dynamite Kid seemed more like, I don't know, some of the
Yeah,
stuff he do seemed like a little,
yeah, a little
yeah, a
more
little up in the
vicious.
ante. Yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
little more vicious, a little more brutal instead of just haha. Okay, what do you mean I'm fired? I didn't even go on the Autobahn. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Magazine Retriever says Marty said the damages that Chuck had to pay in that lawsuit, or that he had to pay partially, personally bankrupted him.
Oh wow. Well, that I could see that. That's I don't know why he would have to pay part of it.
WWE, I would imagine, probably.
I would think so too. I think at that time too, WWE would probably take care of that. But if it did, that kind of sucks. The
John
Rockers
Halston, the
were
Rockers are
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. Yes, they were.
Did Marty ever rib you? He's been known to be a ribber like Mr. Perfect, Owen, and Fuji.
No, never ribbed me. Don't think we ever had the opportunity. I mean, we were always in public and we were always engaged in conversation, so there was no time to rib, no reason to rib.
Mike Miller says he met Marty a couple of years back. Super nice guy. Told me that Action Bronson got his blessing for the Rockers song. I guess he does some sort of rap song, but he has the Rockers in it. That's from Mike Miller. I wonder if that's the Mike Miller. Remember
I
your
don't
old
know, man. I think
Mean Mike?
Mike Miller
Yeah.
might, yeah, me and Mike might say hello first. I
Yeah.
think me and Mike would say hello, but yeah, Marty he's just like you think he'd be, and even better, I think.
Barbara says put Marty in the Hall of Fame for being fired. Yeah, he would be the And then
Why
Mitch says
not?
7 times. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
why not?
The Billy Martin of his time. That is true. That
Oh,
is
I don't
very
know. I
true.
don't know. Billy Martin was a little more volatile, I think.
But he did get fired like 3 times from George
Oh,
Steinbrenner.
okay, I got you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Uh, Brooks says, "What do you think of the new Tales of the Territory on Vice? We talked about it before. Dr.
Oh
Tom
yeah,
loves it. Loves
it
it.
is awesome. Yeah, it was really awesome. Memphis was great. I can't wait to see I can't wait to see the Dallas or the or the Florida one. The Florida one, I think, is they're doing Florida, right? Florida, Dallas,
Yep.
Memphis.
Yep. Hawaii.
Yeah, not a lot's known about Hawaii.
Yeah.
Lars Henning, whatever. He had a bunch of heat. That's where his heat stemmed from, I think. You know the story about Lars Henning or
No.
Henema or whatever.
Lars Anderson, basically.
Lars
Yeah.
Anderson. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. He supposedly. I don't want to get the story mixed up. I just know he got heat in Hawaii for
Oh.
either embezzling money or trying to steal the company or something along those lines. And don't know how it followed him wherever he went because I really hadn't heard of him except for that. Where did he have his run in the States? Do you know?
He was kind of all over the place. I know he was in California a little bit. I know
Okay,
obviously the Andersons were together for a little bit in I think Charlotte area, but
a very little bit.
yep.
Yeah. Uh,
He was really kind of before Ole kind of really with
right,
Gene.
but
Yeah.
and I always wondered why he wasn't around more. And then I'd read and heard a little more about just wasn't the kind of guy you wanted to be around your company. So
Hmm. Yeah, I was kind of wondering. I know he's probably what late 70s, maybe early 80s now, but it's weird he
yeah,
doesn't do a lot of wrestling stuff, hardly any
yeah,
wrestling stuff.
yeah. So that's kind of crazy.
Jason says Marty is kind of like the Ozzy of wrestling.
Well, there's a few Aussies of wrestling out there, I think.
Yeah, say the least. Ex Dr. Tom about the time Marty hid in Iron Sheik's hotel room when the police were looking for him. Do you remember that?
I do not, but but out on shaky baby heel, Marty, you come, you hide. No, no, get inside the toilet bowl. I know it's small. We'll close the lid. You squat down. Yeah, I can see that. Marty stepping in the toilet, trying to squat down. Go ahead.
I love that Sheiky baby loves Marty. He always, Marty, my boy, Marty.
They have the same mind sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we don't always mean to be bad, but sometimes the jabroni needs his eye taken out. You know. So
John Hall says he'll say without Marty, Sean wouldn't have become what he became.
um I think it happened just the way it should have happened because without Marty, Sean would have had no one to uh bounce off, lean on uh during a point in his career where he was just getting ready to be ready. So that's what I think.
Mitch says the barbershop promo of him getting thrown through the window is the most classic betrayal of all time. That was awesome.
That was.
So memorable. The Bruce Barber Beefcake Barbershop. Michael's the super kick, the turn. He throws him through the glass.
And I think, especially at that time, uh, as a team, if I'm not mistaken, Sean was showing signs of turning heel and showing signs of arrogance, showing signs of the
Yep.
subtleties, yeah, things not always on all cylinders with the Rockers. So, uh, and it was obvious, I think, because the tide was turning. I remember talking about this years ago with somebody and went back and watched it, how the transformation happened. And Sean was a baby face, yes, but as a heel, he was a natural heel and he was a good heel. He was talented, he was athletic, and he knew how to sell, for the people he wanted to sell for and knew how to make it look good. And once again, he understood how to have conversations, how to get his way. And that's the key. It's the work is backstage. What we do in the ring is that much. But
Yep.
really it's learning the business in the back.
Terry says Marty was never scared of jumping through a window. That seems very true.
Yeah, I don't think Marty was scared of too much. I'm sure he may have had his fears, but I don't think Marty was scared of too much.
Frank wants to know whether Rocker's just a spin-off of the Rock and Roll Express.
I think they were a spinoff of the Rock and Roll and the Midnight Express because they were the Midnight Rockers and they would look similar and they were doing it. But, Sean was in Louisiana with Ricky and Robert during their run, and Sean rode with Ricky and Robert. And I think Sean especially, but even no, it was Sean, Ricky and Robert, yeah, but Sean especially probably felt like it was an homage to rock and roll and the Midnight because they popped the business in Louisiana. Weren't big guys, but they went out there and worked and made a connection. So, but it sure was. I think it was whether indirectly or directly, a spinoff of Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express.
Ibsen loves the match at WrestleMania 5 in Atlantic City, the Rockers versus the Twin Towers.
Well, that's another classic example of being able to make anybody look good, and they were a great team. And that's the idea: is make your opponents look better than they should be.
Barbara said, which is true, Marty does a great impersonation of Iron Sheik.
So
do you. Does. Yeah, so do you.
Yes. The Iron Sheik, baby. Marty is a good boy. Sometimes he's a bad boy, but he's still a good boy.
Jay Ross says, shout out to Boston Wrestling. We need more Marty. I agree.
More Marty be good. I like more Marty.
Bo is saying Dr. John, but I think he means Dr. Tom. Does the best hyper and funk impersonations.
Listen, he's from Kingsport, and I think most people in Kingsport were hit by a rock when they were 2.
Right.
In the head.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay. So he knows what he's saying. But yeah. Plus, well, I may talk about what other impersonations I do, but I won't. I think we all have impersonations about 4 hours into the car ride and everything's been done and said. And then you go, back in my day when I was riding down the dirt road, we used to shoot jackrabbits. And I'd say, Dad, are we just going to leave them there to bleed and suffer? And my father said, Terry, one day you're going to learn that life isn't fair, and you're going to have to leave a bloody jackrabbit in the side of the road in order to get your carcass down the road and into the ring to beat Dusty Rhodes. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, you know who does great impersonations? Jason Sensation. Remember him? He does awesome impersonations.
I do remember Jason Sensation. Is he okay these days?
Yeah, he's doing good. I saw him. He's posting videos on Twitter and stuff. Like he's walking down the street or headed to work or whatever, but he'll be recording and pretend to be Flair or pretend to be Hogan, and people are like, "What the hell is going on?" So doing some funny stuff over there on Twitter.
So he's doing his part to keep the world insane.
Yes,
I like that.
Yes,
good.
Yes, good. Yes. Maybe this might be the best question of the night. Who got the better rats, Marty or Stan Lane?
Once again, whenever I hear that question, I think that is a complete draw. That is straight right in the middle. When you say who got the better, when you say better, do you mean the more interesting? What's a better rat?
Better looking.
Well, now looks or beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and looks are only skin deep. And there aren't. Look, believe it as it may. Believe it if you want to. You don't have to, but sometimes, there's more to it than just looks and come in and say, "Hey, 15 minutes later you're out." No. Sometimes. And I think Stan would end up on one of those spectrums of, going from, hey, and going into a soliloquy of whatever he does. And then Marty over here going into his own spiel and requirements and episodes of what he wants to do. And I think both Stan and Marty would. I think it'd be even. That's all I'm going to say. Because if I go any further, then I'm going to bury both of them.
All right. All right. Fair enough. Jason says Marty used to go into the agent's conference room, fart, and leave. Is that true?
Well, who didn't? That's my point. And he wasn't the only one.
Who do we got here? Megabath again. I think that the Brainbusters aren't and Tully very good heel team opponents for the Rockers. Yes, the Brainbusters and the Rockers.
Yeah, they were very, very good. Great chemistry between all four guys. It's kind of like FTR is doing now. Those guys can take a tag team and make anything out of it too. And that was just a perfect match with Arn and Tully against Sean and Marty. It really was.
Did you ever speak to Marty Genetti about the headlines about when he supposedly killed somebody? Have you spoken to him about that? About that?
Yeah, hey,
weird...
remember we were having a drink and I say, hey, Marty, you remember when you posted that thing about you killing that guy and then put it in the ring? Yeah, tell me about that. No, I really didn't. No, that part of the conversation was kind of erased. So no, he didn't.
He was saying that it was a storyline. I don't know where he pulled that one out of, but he said it was a storyline that he didn't really do it. It was, and I don't know what the storyline, what the build was, or whatever. But he says it's not true. And the bowling alley and all the other thing.
Well, I read something the other day that a judge, I believe, was in California, will no longer allow rappers or a rap song to be introduced as evidence of saying, well, hey, he rapped about killing this guy, shooting this guy over here, So just like it happened in the song, that's how it happened in real life. So it's kind of like, well, maybe Marty was ahead of his time and said, well, look, I was telling a story and it was a storyline, and so that's all it was. But so. I never asked him about it, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that he would change the story one more time.
Yeah, so funny. Oh my god,
Right.
getting himself in trouble. Hart Foundation's versus the Rockers. When the the top rope breaks, they actually were supposed to win the tag titles. They technically do win the tag titles, and then for some reason, I don't know if you know the answer, but Vince just decided to change his mind. It's like, nope, not happening. Now you're not champions anymore. So they were technically tag champs, the Rockers.
Well, I don't know why that was. I mean, again, I can pure speculation on my part. Could have been that it wasn't a really great match, or it wasn't a match Vince liked, or it
because the
wasn't,
rope break, it wasn't. Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? And just didn't want to look Mickey Mouse, or didn't want to make anything else of it, and then it just kind of got swept over here, and then Fart Foundation went this way, Rockers went that way. I think simple as that.
and Marty, obviously Intercontinental Champion, had a great feud with Shawn Michaels, a little bit back and forth there. He did end up winning the tag title for about 7 days or so with 1-2-3 Kid in 1994.
Right.
So he was a tag champion, but still, I feel like the Rockers in that era, they were so good that them not winning the tag titles is kind of a shame in some respects. It's like, wow, they were never tag champs in WWF.
Yeah, and again, the characters you got to look at. Who was at play there? Who the teams were, and the perception, I guess, because I don't know if that would have been. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, and that's again, it's pure speculation on my part. So the only thing I can say is I agree. They were a great team. Both guys were evenly matched up, looked good next to each other, always wore good looking gear, and stayed in shape. And unfortunately, what usually happens out of tag teams is one guy excels and another guy kind of goes over this way. It's very rare that both guys, make it to the same place at the same time. So it's cool that Marty's still out there and he's still able to go to some of these conventions and see people, because he really is he's one of the good guys in the business. And so there's some people that I really enjoy seeing when I go out and do a convention or signing something like that, and he's one of them because it's never a bad time; it's always a good time.
Marty is the man. Let's talk some other random questions here. We could probably talk about Marty all night, but let's just get some other questions from Phil. Dr. Tom, big fan. Do you think young talents like Cameron Grimes and Joey Gacy will get a main roster push soon? Obviously, those are two guys in NXT right now.
I don't see why not, but at the same time, it's all a matter of timing and having a place for them to go. You don't want to. Here's my opinion. I don't think you want to bring anybody up from NXT unless you have something for them right now. Get them as ready as you can, and don't uh, let them get the reps. Let them get some experience under their belt. So when you come in, you can do something with them, and you're confident that they can follow through and apply what you're trying to do. But I don't see why they couldn't get on the main roster soon. Everybody should be going out there with the attitude that there's someone nipping at their heels, because there is. They've got great talent in NXT, and they've got probably their pick, if you look at it, because right now Hunter's riding a wave of popularity, which is good for him. You want guys to come in and want guys to work for you and want guys to believe in you and trust you and know that your way works. So it's really up to Hunter. It's up to those guys to impress Hunter to where he says, they've got my attention and want to bring them on the main roster.
From Frank, Dr. Tom, working to get some vintage Houston wrestling tapes. What happened to Paul Bosch's tapes?
They are on YouTube, I believe. I believe Billy Corgan of the NWA bought Paul's tapes, bought the Houston library, and he's put some on YouTube. I don't know if he's made any for consumption, like DVDs or anything like that, but a lot of the Houston wrestling stuff is on YouTube.
From the Spoiler, have always been a huge fan of Don Jardine. Of course, the Spoiler. Any great stories from Houston and beyond with Don Jardine?
Well, I tell you, I refereed a match when I was first starting out. I refereed a match in Beaumont, Texas. It was the Spoiler, Don Jardine versus Steve Pardee. And all they didn't really tell me the finish. I knew the finish because I'd watched the match so many times. But when it was time, Don had a gloved hand and put the claw on Pardee. Then he took his left thumb and slit Pardee's forehead right here. Just a thumbnail. Just pushed in, went real quick, not a long way, but boom, kept the claw on. The blood started coming down his hand, went down Pardee's chest, everything. Brought him down. I just counted 3. But I was right up close for that, and I went, oh, my God, because this was a guy, Don Jardine was a pretty badass. He was big.
Yeah.
And he was a different masked man. And I watched him in Houston. And then I saw him in Georgia a couple times. But man, he was one of the best big men of the time, obviously, and Taker stole the old school from him. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Can Dr. Tom give us a clue on who the White Rabbit is?
I don't have a clue. I've read what everybody else has read. And if it's Bray Wyatt, awesome. Did I read that it could be Elijah? What is it, Elijah?
Oh, Elias? He's coming back?
I don't know.
That'd be great.
I read that too.
Oh, wow.
I don't have no idea.
I heard he is coming back as Elias. He just needs time to grow back the beard. That's what I heard anyway, yeah.
You never know.
I believe it is Bray Wyatt. I believe.
Maybe so.
Because the guy, Rob Fee, the writer, he's Bray Wyatt's buddy, and he's the one that created it. So it's like, it kind of goes together.
Yeah, it's fun guessing. I mean,
Yep.
and that's all it really is guessing. I don't really want to know anymore. I want to see if I can figure it out. I'm happier these days. Now I know why. I still want to know how things are done. I get it, but sometimes I enjoy trying to figure it out and see where they're going, and see if it's unpredictable.
Yes. Barbara says, please don't forget about Dr. Tom's book, A Pro Wrestling Curriculum, Advice, Suggestions, and Stories to the Aspiring Pro. Get to the next level. Where can I get the book?
You can go to jpwrestlingacademy.com, click on the top training. It'll take you directly to the book. Click on that, take you to Amazon, and you can order it there. It's jpwrestlingacademy.com. Our last class is going on right now for 2022, but the next class for 2023, we'll have those days up there too.
Of course, you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. You can follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Pritchard. Dr. Tom, what else you got going on?
Man, I'm heading to Altoona, Pennsylvania this Friday for a seminar this weekend. We've got Indianapolis coming up here in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Heading there for the Heroes and Legends, and have a seminar, I think, on Saturday morning too. So it's going to be good.
Wow, nice. Love it. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Take You to School with Dr. Tom Pritchard. We'll see you next week, folks.